I'm live. Go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you again. Talk to you guys. I missed you all. I see that 7 people are here. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me. Today, here's some things that we're going to talk about. I'm just realizing that it's backwards. Hopefully you can see it. What are fractions? I'll talk about what are the unit fractions. What is actually a fraction? Like a fraction is a small part of a whole. We'll discuss about it. We'll discuss about it more. We're also going to talk about adding unit fractions. And I'll go more into depth when you have a whole fraction. What are the unit fractions? The one piece out of the whole fraction. We're also going to talk about decomposing a fraction. We're going to use number bonds to decompose a fraction. For example, you have 2/3 decomposing into 1/3 and 1/3. We'll talk about it more. And at the end, we'll use a tape diagram to decompose those fractions, okay? Some of you guys, a lot of my students were already, this is kind of basics, what we learned earlier in the year. But my plan is to work this from the ground up. So let's say you feel like you want to teach fractions to somebody else. You can start with this video, and then we're going to go work our way up to multiplying different fractions, to decomposing a fraction in order to subtract. But today, we're just going to start with unit fractions. We're going to be adding unit fractions. We're going to be decomposing a fraction using the number bonds. And we're going to use a tape diagram to decompose the fraction, right? Let's start with what is a fraction exactly? Let's start with what is a fraction. Let me get my marker. Okay. So a fraction is a part of a whole. Let's present that this right here, this is one whole. All of this is one whole. It's kind of like a tape diagram as well. A fraction is just a piece of that whole. For example, if I were to have my fraction, my 4 equal sized pieces, pay close attention, and always I do my best to make them equal size because that's about fractions. Fractions are equal parts of the whole. So this whole has been broken into 4 equal parts. So fractions are made up of numerators and denominators. So here, my denominator, since it's 4 equal parts, my denominator is 4. This is my denominator, and all that the denominator is saying is denominator. All the denominator is saying is that this whole is made of 4 parts. Okay? For if I were to have my whole that is made of 4 parts, and I only have, let's say, 1 piece out of my whole, I am saying that I have 1 piece out of the 4. And this is my numerator. Okay? So these are what fractions are. Fractions are part of a whole. Your numerator tells you how many parts you have, and your denominator tells you into how many sections is your whole made out of. All right? So let's pretend that I have my sock. Let's pretend that I have in my same fraction, I have, this is 1/4 right here. This is 1 piece out of my 4, right? If I were to have 2 of them, 2 pieces, now I have 1/4 and 1/4 again. Now, when I'm adding fractions with the same denominator, I don't have to, it's so easy to add fractions that have the same denominator because those pieces are the same. Since they both have the same size pieces, all I'm thinking about is how many total pieces do I have? Now I have 1/4 plus 1/4 again. That means that I have 1, 2. I have 2/4. I have 2/4. 2/4 right there. And that's easy because I can see that I have 2 out of the 4 pieces. Again, my numerator was the part. Now I have 2 pieces. My denominator is my whole piece. So I have 2 pieces out of the 4. All right. So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to come over to the small group table, just in case you need a little more breakdown on how to add fractions with the same denominator. While I go to the small group over here, those of you guys who can go ahead, like, I want some practice, Mr. Samaniego. I have a hand ready with a pencil. Oh, by the way, you're going to need a pencil. You're going to need a piece of paper. Also, in the comments section, if you click on that link, you can see the problem set that I'm working on. So in the comments section, you can go ahead and click that, and you're going to see something that looks like this. Right? If you click it, you're going to see something that looks kind of like this. Right? Here, you can see the different problem sets. If you go to the next one, right there, here's some problem sets that we're going to be working on right now. Okay. Right now, if you want to go ahead, start working on that, I'll have a small group over here, and here's some problems that you can work on. Here you go. Hopefully you can see that. If not, I'm going to read them out because I'm not sure if this is flipping the image. But it's 1/5 plus 2/5. Ready? Number 2. 2/5 plus 2/5. Number 3. 3/5 plus 2/5. All right? You got 1, 2, 3 questions. I'll say them again. 1/5 plus 2/5. 2/5 plus 2/5. And 3/5 plus 5/5. If you want some additional help, I'm going to turn this fraction into fifths so you can use it as you count. Okay. Fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth denominator. Okay. Now, you need a little more help on seeing how those unit fractions can add up. Follow me to the manipulative table. Come over here. Okay. Ba-ba-bam. Let's see. Para este lado mejor. Stand on this side, and I'll go under. Okay. Alrighty, let's take a look over here at the 1 hole. There you go. Now, I have 1 hole right here, okay? If I were to have this 1 hole broken into 3 equal pieces, 1 hole that's been broken into 3 equal pieces, that means that my denominator, hopefully you can see it over here. My denominator is going to be 3. If I broke it into 3 equal pieces, that means that I have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 right there. If I were to only have 2 pieces out of those 3, that means that I have 2/3. Okay, I have 2/3 right there. If you notice, if I were to have my whole, if I would have 1, 2, 3/3, if I were to have 3/3, 3/3, that means it's the same. That means 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. That means that is the same as 1 whole. And remember, whole, guys, when you say 1 whole is W-H-O-L, okay? 1 whole. Now, Let's try different fractions. This is 3/3. Let's work with this piece right here. Now think about it. My 1 whole, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. It takes 4 pieces to make my 1 whole right here. So I have to think to myself, what's going to be the denominator if it's 4 pieces? And again, remember, guys, the numerator means how many pieces we have. The denominator means into how many pieces is it broken into? How many equal pieces? Okay. So if I were to have 1, 2, 3, 4, that means that my denominator is going to be 4. Okay. So if I were only to have 1 out of the 4 pieces that makes my whole number, that means that my numerator will be have 1. I have 1/4. 1/4. And if you look right here, it even tells us in this little tile, 1/4 right there. Okay. If I were to add another 4th, right there, that is equal to 3/4, to 2/4, sorry, 2/4 right there. Okay. Now that I'm going to move my 2/4 all over here. 2/4. I'm going to add another 4th. Another 4th. If I have 2/4 plus 1/4 more, that gives me a total of 3/4. Okay? So that's the thing. Since they have the same denominator, the size of the shapes of the pieces are the same. Those fraction pieces are the same, which means we can just add them. If I have 1/4 plus another 1/4, that equals 2/4, right? If I were to now have my 2/4 down here, I have 2/4. I were to add another 1/4, that'll be equal to 3/4. Okay. Let's do one more. So I got my 4ths. Take a look at this one right here. Let's go a little wacky. Now I have all of these pieces. There's a total of, count them with me to make one whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pieces makes the one whole. So I'm going to erase this real quick. Now that I know that 12 pieces makes my one whole, I know that my denominator, which tells me how many pieces is my whole made out of, is going to be, well, actually, I'll give you a moment, guys. Think about it. Tell somebody next to you, tell mom and dad, or tell yourself. If you have one whole that is made of 12 pieces, and again, the denominator tells you the number of pieces your whole has been broken into, the number of pieces that is in your whole. The numerator just tells you how many pieces we have. So, you finished? So, mom and dad? All right. So, right here, if it's made of 12 pieces, we know that our denominator is 12. If I were only to have one piece only, that'll give me 1/12. 1/12 right there. Okay. If I were to add, let's pretend now I'm going to add 2 12s. Now each one of these is 1/12. 1/12. Now I'm going to add 2 more of those. That is 2 12s. And again, if we have the same denominator, we can just add them across. That should be 3. 1, 2. Oh, never mind. 3. That's going to be 3 12s right there. Okay, 3 12s. Alrighty then. Let's head back over to the table, to the whiteboard over here. Now, Hopefully the way they see it in the camera, the letters are flipped. So hopefully you see it the right way. If not, after the live, I'll find a way to turn the screen around. I only got 5 more minutes. So far, we've talked about fractions. And what are unit fractions? Unit fractions, again, guys, unit fractions is when it's 1 in the numerator. The unit fraction is when it's the 1 piece out of the fraction. Okay, so I'll put a little check on that. Boom, boom. Next one, adding unit fractions with the same denominator. We did this over here. You did it on your own, so I'm going to read them off. You have 1/5 plus 2/5. That should equal, that's right, 3/5. Now you have 2/5 plus 2/5, and that should equal 4. Ayana? 4/5. Good job. And also 3/5 plus 2/5. That will equal 5/5. That's right, 5/5. Or some of you guys who were achievers, you were thinking already, well, if I have that 5/5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you're already saying, well, 5/5 is the same as the 1 whole. Great job, guys. I knew some of you guys said it. I know. So we did, boom, we added digits in the same denominator. Now let's decompose a fraction with number bonds. We're going to decompose a fraction using number bonds. Now, let's think back on this fraction right here. And I'm going to write it down as well. First, I'm going to erase all of this. I'll stick with this fraction right here. Here I have 5/5. 5/5. I can decompose that 5/5 into the unit fractions. If I were to decompose this 5/5 into unit fractions, all I'm saying is how many individual pieces make up the fraction of 5/5. So I can break that into 5/5 is the same as 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5. 5/5 is the same broken into 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 right there. 5/5. Okay. Could we combine them to make different number bonds? Of course. Let's switch it up a little so you can see the different ways we can represent this. Now let's pretend that I only have 3/5. Now I have 3/5. Actually, I'll give you a moment. Think about it. 3/5. How can you break apart 3/5 when in unit fractions? I'll give you guys a moment to think about it. Okay. Think about it. Discuss it with somebody. We have 3/5. How can I use that number bond to represent a fraction of 3/5 using those unit fractions? Unit. Uno. Unit in the numerator. 1 in the numerator. Okay, for those of you who just finished discussing, well, if I have 3/5, I know that's the same thing as 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. Okay, so you can use a number bond to decompose a fraction into its unit fractions. Okay, and try the same with the same fractions that you added earlier. Get one of those, put it into a number bond, and break it apart into those unit fractions. Unit fractions. Alrighty. Since today we're gonna keep it short, and it's my first one that I'm doing this. So hopefully, once I upload this, I will fix the letters so we can actually read the thing. And also, I'll leave you this. Think about this. This whole fraction is my 1 whole. This whole fraction is my 1 whole. But what if you were to have a fraction, a tape diagram that has the 1 whole is 1, 2, 3 pieces. My 1 whole is made up of 3 pieces. So that means my denominator is 3. But what's going to be the numerator? I know my denominator is 3 because my 1 whole, as I see with a bracket, is made up of 3 pieces. I have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. But how many total thirds do I have? All right. So think about it. I'll let you that too, for it to get in your mind. So guys, this is my first one that I'm doing. So hopefully later on the next week I'll do another one. It'll be a lot more structure. I'm gonna fix this letters, or maybe, who knows, maybe you can see it the right way. Keep checking on that link that I sent you for my Parents of Class Dojo. Keep checking that link. I'll have those problem sets from Eureka. Most of my students, this should be like a very simple review. My plan is over the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks or something, I will keep adding into these fractions. We're gonna work from adding fractions, decomposing fractions, subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions, creating mixed numbers, decomposing mixed to subtract, all those things. All right. Hopefully it was great to see you. Thank you so much. Those 13 people. Hello. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm gonna stop this. Tell you guys that I miss you. I want to see you guys all again. Thank you so much for coming. Next week I will be working with this, and next week maybe I can put a little bit of music. What is the saying? I'm building the ship as I'm going. Flying the ship as I'm going. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe. Okay. Miss you all. Send me a message to Class Dojo. Okay. Bye. La música. No. Okay. No. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Adiós a todos. Okay. I will see you next week. Okay, everybody. See ya. Take it easy. Yes, I'm sure.